Hello, and welcome to this broadcast of Running on Love with God. My name is Lori Michelle, and it is New Year's Day 2017, and today's broadcast is about pollution and our environment. We must do better. And just a few hours ago, I recorded an introduction, and I posted it online. And I gave some background about this program, and I mentioned on the introduction that I have a co-host today, Anna Marie Lucas. Hello, Anna Marie.
Hi, Lori.
Well, I hear you in my headset, but I don't hear you on my computer. So I have a new version of Blog Talk Radio, and I know that this is going to record on Blog Talk, but I'm not sure how this is going to translate on the video that I'm recording right now on my computer. So I may not be able to use this video this time, and we'll have to figure out new technology, Anna Marie.
So, worst case, we can edit it together after the broadcast.
Oh, great idea! Perfect. You know, I know that is your background, actually. Your background was product manager for Adobe, right? So
yes.
You know all about Premiere and how to edit video. So may call on you to help me out with that.
Absolutely.
Even though I do have all the software. Thank you. All right, great. So then we'll just go on and talk, because we have about 28 minutes left to talk about this topic today, about pollution and our environment, and I gave a 15-minute preview that I gave to you, and I talked about the perspective from God's point of view, that if we don't wake up in the morning understanding that this is His world, not our world, and we don't recognize from rule number one that there is one God and He owns and gives us everything, and that everything is on loan to us, that it's downhill from there. So, and I spoke about global warming when I didn't give the answer about global warming and what he says about global warming, but do you have questions? Because I'd like to make this more of a 30-minute conversation, since you have a very strong background in environmental protection. Why don't we talk a little bit about that first?
Okay, first I would like you to clarify what God's message is on the whole climate change, global warming issue that's at the forefront right now.
Okay, I will. At the forefront is the issue of global warming, and I asked him one day, I said, you know, there's a lot of people who believe in God, and they say there's no such thing, that this is just made up. And people who are very religious, and they don't believe in global warming. And the scientists are beating the drum that there is climate change and global warming, and we're heading for disaster right now. And when I asked him the straight-up question, is there such a thing as global warming, his first answer was no. And I thought that was interesting, because then I said, well, is the atmosphere getting warmer? Or are we seeing an increase in temperatures? And he said, yes. And I said, well, is it caused by pollution and industry and car emissions? And he said, yes. So I was confused. And so his answer, the short answer is, this terminology of global warming is a very frightening topic and a very frightening term it sounds like a loaded gun. And what he disagrees with, or what he says is not true, is that it's hopeless, or that we are this fear-mongering, this attitude of the world is, there's global warming and industry, they need to pay, and penalties and legislation to stop the emissions, and all of that, he said, is wrong-headed. So before I keep going on and give too long of an answer, I want to give you an opportunity to interject.
Okay, so there is science that shows that the polar ice caps are melting in the Arctic, but that they're expanding in the Antarctic. So is this just, I mean, the climate has always changed in the globe. I mean, there's been ice ages and warmer ages. So is this part of that natural change, or is this more caused by things that we can reverse?
The answer is yes and yes. There are some natural changes, but the changes that we're seeing in the environment are caused by pollution and by greed and by improper care of the earth and the atmosphere in what we're doing. Can it be reversed? The answer is also yes. So it's yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Okay. Years ago, I read a book called The Death of Environmentalism, and the key message was that there's been so many scare tactics, where a message comes out almost every week. It seems like, oh, we're about to lose the species of the spotted brown bird, and then this is about to go extinct, that people have just gotten tired of hearing these messages and disregard them. Is that happening now? I mean, are people disregarding the global warming in general, or do you think that enough people are aware that we can bring about some change?
The core, at the heart of the issue and the problem, and I'm going to sound every Sunday like a broken record. The problem is that people are being desensitized. There is a certain amount of fear propagating the earth, and that's not helpful. But the problem that we're facing is the lack of acknowledgement that this is a world that was created by our Creator, and He gave us a set of rules, and we are not following the rules. And if we fail to recognize that God is real, that God created the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that they contain, and He gave us a rule book to follow, and unless and until we wake up as a human family and acknowledge that every day, every moment of every day, we will literally all implode, will die. And it's not just the environment. In my pre-recording, I said, if you recall, this is the easy show, believe it or not, because it's dealing with everyday physical issues like what do we do with our trash? What do we do with pollution? How do we manufacture things without polluting the environment? This is the easy stuff. So if we don't remember that He created this world and He gave us a rule book, and we don't create our rules and honor in every moment every single thing that we do and action that we take, taking care of the world, the air, the water, the trees, it's deadly. Now, if you might be thinking, well, is this fear tactics that I'm talking about? You must believe in God or we will all die. Well, Anna Marie, that's really the truth. But the truth will set us free. If we start with the notion that God created the world and we follow His rules and we keep that in mind every single day and every moment of every day, we will all choose better.
My husband had an interesting question on this issue about appreciating the world that we've been given. He asked, is this what happens when you are given this earth and haven't earned life on earth? Because you know how when you're throwing a dinner party and you're the one who's buying all the groceries, you know exactly how expensive it is. But when you're going to somebody's house for dinner, it just kind of feels like nothing. You feel like, well, I didn't eat that much food. It couldn't have cost that much. Is it a similar thing? We haven't earned this earth. We were just handed it, and so we don't value it that much.
I don't know that that's an accurate statement. There's truth to that, of course, that when we don't take care of the things that we're given, we're showing a lack of appreciation, and we're not acknowledging, and we don't appreciate because we didn't earn it. There's some truth to that, but it's far deeper than that. I want to point out that we're here in a body. We come into this world, we are brought into this world, and we are spiritual beings having a physical manifestation as humans. Before we come here, we are aware that there is a creator and that God is omnipotent and that we are given the gift of life, literally, to come and incarnate here. But when we come with our minds erased, our conscious minds are erased, our souls remember. Many, many people, billions of people believe in the existence of God, the Creator. But when we come into this world, we have spiritual work to do. So Hashem, God, erases your conscious mind and you forget. You don't consciously remember that God is real, that you're here for a purpose, that everything comes from Him, and all these rules that I'm talking about, you know when you're not here in a body. So when you die, all your memories flood back, and you remember who you were in past lives, you remember what you were doing 20 minutes ago when you were here in a body, and many of the people that I hear when they cross over, Anna Marie, are absolutely humiliated because they are literally walking. Let's say that the people who are alive in bodies are like the walking dead, and the people who are dead and no longer in bodies are more awake and alive because they remember and they know that God is real, that He's watching everything, that this is His beautiful earth. They know the purpose why they were here in the first place. We're here to love each other, take care of each other, take care of the earth, to love and to prosper. And we failed, and we leave, and we left a mess behind.
Okay, so it seems like there's a conflict between the population of people on the earth and having a clean earth, because with the huge number of people that are here, we have to have massive industrial agriculture in order to be able to grow the food to feed the people. So can you, how do we keep the world?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, how do we clean up the world when we have that responsibility as well?
When you said that we have to have massive agriculture to feed all the massive amount of people, Hashem said, as you were saying that is not so.
That's not true?
That's not true. Not all of it is true. He says much of it is not true. The way in which we take care of the earth has been prescribed by God thousands of years ago. And the reason that we're depleting the earth and that there's chemicals in our food and there's preservatives in our food, he said, boils down to greed and avarice. That we're no longer caring for the product of our food and what we're ingesting and how we're treating our bodies and the environment. We just want more money, more, bigger, better, more. The quest for more. I'll give you an example, Anna Marie. When I moved to Israel a year ago, it was the year of Shemitah, which means it's the year that Hashem, God, ordered the Jewish children not to harvest the land and give the land a rest. Well, thousands of years later, we experienced in our history of the world things like famines, right?
Right.
because of the overworking of the land, and by trial and error, people had learned. But God gave those laws to the Jewish children on Mount Sinai thousands of years ago. So the laws of how to protect the environment, they exist. And I'm not a Torah scholar, and I said this before in my intro. There are people who are learned in Torah and Torah law and the Bible. I'm not one of those. I just I am blessed with an incredible gift that I speak with him. These laws need to be brought out and spoken about in a public forum. There's a law that is in the Torah, Anna Marie, that you may not be aware of. I wasn't until recently. That in wartime, it is against God's law to cut down fruit trees. You may not destroy. There's a law about not destroying. There are laws.
Okay, and the purpose of that is?
The purpose of that is to value every single living thing on this earth, that God provided everything, animals, nature, everything has a purpose. And he has given a prescription on how to care for every single living thing, everything. Everything has a purpose. It is said that in the yes, go ahead.
No, you go. It says in the Torah.
No, I was going to say I have been taught that there's not one extra letter in the Torah. The Torah is a perfect instrument given to us by Hashem God. It is supernatural. He has given us everything. Most people in the world think there are 10 commandments. Well, much to my surprise in my 40s when my children went to Hebrew school, I learned there are 613 commandments. And from those commandments, there are many, many laws and derivative laws that come from one basic law. Like there's the laws of kosher, how to eat, what to eat, how to kill animals. All of those laws were given to the Jewish children in the Torah. And the three largest monotheistic religions all believe that Moses was God's prophet and that God received God's laws on Mount Sinai. So I'm not saying anything that's against any religion.
Okay, but Lori, getting back to my question about the ability to feed the world or to feed all the people with the resources that are in the world, you're saying it can be done in a more natural fashion?
He says 100%.
Okay.
He just said lack is an invention of humanity. He's saying right now nothing is lacking. I came from America. I lived most of my life in America. I came here a year ago. And Anna Marie, the food in Israel tastes better. It has more taste. The vegetables they taste better. When you go into a supermarket, and I used to shop at the ShopRite in New Jersey, the vegetables look gorgeous. Gorgeous colors, gorgeous. They look beautiful. But when you took them home, they didn't taste the same way the vegetables taste here in Israel. And the eggs, the biggest astonishment that I had was when I ate fresh eggs in Israel. The shells, when I crack the shell of my egg, they're very hard to crack. I have to give it, as they say in Yiddish, a zetz. I have to really smack the egg to crack the egg open. But when I used to visit and go back to America, the eggs didn't taste the same. They had less flavor, and the shells were paper thin. The way they're treating these hens And bunching them up and forcing them to overproduce eggs is depleting them, and the eggs don't taste as well. We're harming ourselves.
No, I know. I completely agree with you. We have an organic garden, and all summer long, the vegetables that we eat from our garden are wonderful. And we freeze as many as we can, but eventually when we run out and have to eat store-bought food, it just isn't the same. You're exactly right.
It's not the same. And I have to also say that while I was here the first year, I kept eating the food. The food is magnificent here, and other people who have visited Israel have said the same thing, that they go back and they're astonished. And I'm very concerned about my American friends and family that you're being poisoned, literally. I feel it's frightening how different the food tastes. And maybe it's more dramatic after when you visit. When I used to visit and go back to America and go back and forth, I could taste the difference.
Okay, so when you said that there is no such thing as lack in the world, that's all a creation, what can we do individually?
I didn't say it. Anne-Marie, I didn't say that. He said that.
Okay, all right, sorry. When he said that. Sorry, Lori. What can we do? Is there anything we can do individually? I mean, how do we get out of that whole industrial farming?
Well, we're talking about the food supply, and the program was about pollution, but it's all related to the same issue of we need to have God on the radar. This program is called Running on Love with God because I was awakened 7.5 years ago to a male voice telling me, go get pen and paper and start writing. He is real. He's watching everything. And the first premise, and I know this sounds, okay, God's real. But no, what I'm saying is the awakening process of awakening people to know that he's not just a fictional character in the Bible, and I'm not a Bible-toting maniac. I guess I'm a little obsessed with him because he's so amazing, so loving, and so real, and he's involved in everything I do. But we need to wake up to the fact that this is his world, that the air that we breathe, our bodies, our hair, our skin, our computers, everything comes into being because he said yes. And the day is here now that we need to wake up to that reality. And it's going to be a step-by-step process. I know you want, well, what do we do right now? Okay.
Right.
So I was in the supermarket, and I was shopping, and he said, okay, Lori, now the environment's on your radar, and I want you, and I think I told you last week, he wants me to buy a bottle, a reusable bottle, and not buy water bottles anymore. Water bottles, we discussed this. Where did they come from? When I was little and when you were little, there were water fountains, free water everywhere.
Right.
And so this is at the heart of the matter. It's greed. Who decided to charge us and put water in a plastic bottle?
Right. And why did we all decide? Yeah, and we all decided to drink it that way, serve it that way, drink it that way.
And I run, and I told you I'm having trouble finding the right bottle for my waist belt. When I run, I carry a water bottle, and I need to find one that I can, with an open mouth, a wide mouth, that I can wash out and reuse. Here's another example, and I have the video going, and hopefully you can help me after this program and splice the audio together. But I'm going to show my camera. I have this beautiful plastic bowl. It looks like a real china bowl. And I had 7 people over for dinner for the Sabbath one night, and I decided I didn't want to be inconvenienced and stand at the sink and wash dishes. So I bought these plastic, beautiful, and I'm showing the camera, they're beautiful. And they're almost as hard as plastic china. I'm going like this, as you can hear. So they're quote, end quote, plastic, right? And at the end of the night, there were, how many, 14 different bowls and plates thrown in the trash. And now they're in a landfill somewhere. So my promise, and this is the wake-up call, what can we do? I won't do this again. I will stand at the sink and wash dishes.
Okay.
Plastic cutlery, convenient, right?
Right.
Oh, you have a lot of people. Oh, just let's throw it out. Now, put it on the radar. God is watching us. This is His world. Every time I walk to the trash dumpster, I'm holding a bag of garbage, and I literally say a little prayer. Please, Hashem, help us fix this garbage crisis. We have a crisis, but we can't be fearful. We can't be panicky. We need to come up with solutions, and we can do little things as individuals. But the first thing we have to do is it needs to be on our radar every day. Like we said earlier in the program, we only have a few minutes left. It's not even on our radar. Oh, well, I can't do anything about it. Oh, just forget about it. Global warming, whatever. Someone else will take care of it. But here's another example, and I brought this up the other day. God has a rule called Sabbath. Take one day off, no work, no manner of work, right? And some of the very observant Jewish children follow that. Some Christians I know, when I was growing up, Sunday was your day of rest, right?
Right.
There's a day called the Sabbath. Well, you and I discussed the other day, preparing for this program, could you imagine that the world finally recognized one day that God is the creator of all of us. There is one God, and He says that on one day, He says the seventh day, you will do no manner of work, not you, not your sons or daughters, not your maidservant, not your manservant, not the stranger within your gate, no work. Now, can you imagine, the Jewish people who are observant don't drive. And I pulled out something, and I have an article about global warming and how the car emissions and the truck emissions and all the emissions in the United States alone account for 30% of the global warming that we're experiencing, the climate changes. But can you imagine if we knew that God was real and for one day out of the week, the world stopped producing emissions?
Yeah, can you imagine how it would sound? All the birds you would hear. I mean, you would hear the wind. That would be really cool.
And that's one of the 10 commandments. We know this, the Sabbath. So it really comes down to there is God in the world. There is one God, and we need to respect that, and we need to have God on our radar every day, all day, and we need to take steps. We only have a minute left, Anna Marie, to the program. I think we should probably have a follow-up program. This is a very important topic, and maybe come up with a list of what can we do instead of throwing our hands up in the air and saying there's nothing I can do. Let someone else figure it out. We need to start doing. Maybe,
right, and
maybe it's eliminating water bottles. Mm-hmm.
Right, but also instead of waiting for governments to come up with big schemes and taxes and credits, I mean, let's take it at the individual level.
Well, let's have a follow-up program, Anna Maria. This was great. Thank you so, so much, and I hope people are listening and they will support this program and go to runningonlove.org and donate and support this work. God bless everyone. Thank you, Anna Marie.